Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me in the Locher Room on this Friday, March 24th. I'm Alan Locher. Actor Brody Hutzler is here this afternoon to look back at his career that started 27 years ago when he was cast as Zachary Smith on Guiding Light. In addition to his role on Guiding Light, Brody went on to play Cody Dixon on The Young and the Restless and Patrick Lockhart on Days of Our Lives. Fans of the hit series Angel will remember Brody for his recurring role of Landok. He also made several guest appearances on the primetime series Charmed, NCIS, Ringer, Seventh Heaven, Family Guy, and Ally McBeal, to name a small few. He also starred in the films Beach Kings and Mega Shark vs. Kolossus. And one of his most proud roles to date is that of dad to his daughter, Vivienne. In addition to his career in acting, Brody has a successful career as a realtor. He covers all of California and helps his clients buy and sell property anywhere from San Diego to San Francisco. Please help me welcome Brody Hutzler to the Locher Room. Hey, Brody.
Hey, thank you for the introduction. That was very nice.
You're so welcome. I know you told me backstage you don't remember much about growing up in Alaska, but I was going to tell you I rode my bicycle from Fairbanks to Anchorage.
Oh. I was born in Fairbanks.
Yeah.
So I was there for about 9 months. I want to go back someday, obviously, to see it. But...
Oh, you do? Yo, it's pretty spectacular. I don't think I would have ever gone there if it wasn't for that bike ride that,
So how long did that take?
It was probably like 5 days, 5 to 7 days. We would ride during the day about 100 miles a day. It was a 500 mile and then sleep in tents.
Was it all like paved roads? I mean, did you ride a road bike?
It was paved roads for the most part, I think. I mean, it's 23 years ago. The only thing I really truly remember is the random blizzard we had during the summer.
Oh, man. Yeah.
It was cold as SHIT, to say the least.
I would have chosen a different word, but good.
Yeah, it definitely was that. You headed off to Michigan State to pursue your dream of becoming an actor. Where did that dream start for you?
Well, in reality, I guess it was kind of started in 8th grade when I was in Long Island, New York, and my English teacher was a theater guy, and we did plays in class, and he kind of was like, would tell me, hey, this is something you should think about, but I wasn't from a family that kind of did that sort of thing. I mean, we were like Air Force people and attorneys and stuff. So, I got to college, did a couple plays, and really didn't start for real until my parents moved to Los Angeles during that time. And then I would come home for the summers, and I was here, and it was sitting right in front of me, and I was getting a lot of people saying, you should do this, you should do that. And so I'd do stuff over the summers, and I'd go back to Michigan State, and then I finally just went for it and came out here and just started doing it, going to acting school full time and all that stuff.
Oh, wow. So what grade in high school were you? Or
I was in 8th grade. So I was like a middle school.
And in English class, did theater?
Yeah, we did like little plays in class, right? Like we'd read some of the English lit stuff he had as the plays, Romeo and Juliet or whatever. And we do the plays just in class. So that's kind of how that little nugget started. Like, wow, I could do something like that,
I love that. Is it true that Alan Alda's one of your faves?
Yeah, so that was like around that time. I just, watching MASH. I'm that old. I used to watch MASH all the time. And,
yeah, me too.
Yeah, I just always loved his character, just his way. Even today, if you watch him act, he's still awesome. I just like whatever he has, I like it.
Well, he definitely, he had something because he, talk about longevity, right?
Yeah, he made it look easy, which it isn't always.
Yeah, he actually lived in New Jersey as well.
Oh, wow, that makes sense.
Your first, I think, paid gig was Saved by the Bell, the new class, right?
Well, my very, very first paid gig was an under 5 on Young and the Restless, funny enough.
Oh, wow.
But then, yes, I think that was like my next like real kind of job. And it was a new class for sure.
Well, what do you remember about the experience doing that?
Dustin Diamond was still there from the original cast. I know my recollection was that it was fun because you ended up doing it in front of a live studio audience, and then we tape it on the final day, which was really fun. The immediate response. And I was kind of a bad guy on that show. So on that particular episode. So yeah, it was nerve-wracking, fun experience.
Yeah, I'm sure nerve-wracking. And that episode won a humanitarian award?
Yeah, so there was like my character's basically like a version of a date rapist on a morning Saturday show. I mean, I kind of like I forget actress's name was Rachel, I think. I grab her arm and I'm like kind of rough and want to kiss her and just, daytime Saturday type stuff. But so I guess it brought a lot of awareness to that type of situation. And there's episodes called Boundaries. So yeah, it was pretty cool that I got to be involved with that.
That's really early. In the sort of like the Me Too, boundaries.
For sure.
Interesting. Yeah. I like the name of the episode.
Mr. Belding had to come get me and talk some sense into me. So he set me right. He set my character straight.
That's awesome. I wish it was that easy, right?
I know.
All the time. What prompted your move back to New York in '96? Was it Guiding Light or?
I literally was in Los Angeles auditioning, and I came out for the screen test. I went home, and a week later, they wanted me for a different part originally. I think it was like Alan Michael or something.
Oh wow!
I auditioned with a bunch of people for that, and then they were like, "We love you, but not for that." And then that's when Michael Leibson was casting all these young guys, basically, and they called me back out to do that screen test. And then a couple of days later, like we were talking about backstage, I was like, they need you to start tomorrow on a Thursday, and your first day is Monday. And here's 7 scripts to memorize in the meantime. So it was like that. Yeah.
7 scripts.
Yeah. It was pretty crazy. I was ill prepared at the time.
That's got to make your eyeballs pop out of your head.
Honestly, it was crazy. It's funny because I kind of got offered a part on some little movie the other day, and these days they want to cram everything into as small amount of days as possible. So they said, "Oh, it was like that. It was like 30 pages of dialogue. We want to shoot it in a day and a half." I said, I can't. Not for them. If you want to offer me 20 times what you're offering me, I'll think about it. But it's just a lot of work. I mean,
wow.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's funny. I think a lot of productions are now moving at the speed of daytime dramas for budgetary reasons. Mm-hmm. That's wild. Talk about arriving. You were telling me backstage.
Yeah. Oh, when I came to, so I got on the plane for New York and said my goodbyes and shed a tear as I flew to New York, and I arrived at like midnight, and they'd give me a hotel to go to, which I went to in, Midtown Manhattan. I got there, they didn't have my reservation. So, I'm lugging around like 3 or 4 huge suitcases, like around Midtown Manhattan in the middle of the night, wondering like, no one to call. Cause it's like by this time it's 12:31 in the morning. And I finally found a place to just take me for the night, and it worked it out, but it was not the best beginning.
Yeah, that's a scary beginning. I don't know, what I would do being
it was down like on 42nd and like, 4th, 3rd or something like that. I don't remember exactly, but it was
in 1996.
Yeah.
Who did you screen test with?
Who did I screen test for that? I guess that must have been Rebecca. I think we screen tested together. Yeah. And then that's right. It had to have been Rebecca. All my story was with her. Yeah, for the most part. And maybe it was Sonia too. Wild. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Sonia Satra.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Yeah. Tell us what Michael Leibson had envisioned for Zachary, what you knew about the story when you arrived, and what.
Right. So his concept was, the concept was never to let anybody know exactly what was happening, but he told me Zachary was going to literally be an angel, right? At the lighthouse and all that, because the roots of Guiding Light are about that. So Zachary was supposed to be this angel. It was like the film I was telling, City of Angels.
City of Angels, yeah.
Yeah, the one came with Nicolas Cage and Meg Ryan. It was basically that story right before that movie came out, I guess. And so it was a great idea if it could have been executed. But I just, then I think Michael was on his way out, and the powers that be didn't like that story, and it never happened. So, when I left, it was kind of like, who was he? Where did he go? He disappeared, But
he definitely did.
At that age, I was very angelic looking, so it worked for the moment.
What do you remember? Do you remember your first day at all?
I remember kind of like that first week. I think it all blends together. I just remember like, the wardrobe was crazy because I had to get in there and do all that. And then they're trying to fit me into these flowy angel-like clothes and, the sets. And then Rebecca's tiny. She's like 5'2". And I'm, going there at 6'3" or 4 and trying to figure all that out. And then on top of it, I never really worked on so much. All the blocking is pretty specific and pretty precise. And then I'm like literally trying to remember, okay, I have 30 pages of monologues to introduce his character and figure out who he is. And I mean, it was a lot, man. And I was green. I had like done like 3 or 4 jobs prior to getting this part. I was not ready. So I muddled through it as best I could at the time, but that's what I remember. Just that's why when you asked me if I loved being in New York, I did.
Sorry.
But there were definitely some challenging moments.
Yeah, I bet. Absolutely. Did anyone take you under their wing when you were there?
I mean,
help you out, the ropes.
I mean, yeah, I would. I'm pretty open, and I would confide in anybody that would listen, to be honest. But I mean, I knew Kim Zimmer a bit from California, of all things. I used to work in a Starbucks, and she used to come in all the time. So we had this relationship. Yeah, we already had this relationship. So,
I love that.
Yeah, she was cool. I could talk to her a bit, but I just.
Yeah, didn't she live near where you're living now?
Yeah, she lived in Valencia, which is like Santa Clarita Valley, which is probably 20, 30 minutes from here. Yeah. And that's why I lived there at the time too. And I was working at that local Starbucks, funny enough. So, I mean, yeah, I didn't get any real, the only advice, I forgot who it was to this whole, it was like, if I would have done it later as a more mature actor, is to just make more defined choices, right? Because nobody knew what I was supposed to be doing exactly. I was trying to listen to Michael Leibson. I was trying to listen to so-and-so, and everybody's like, we don't know exactly. And instead of just saying, okay, Brody, you decide what you're doing, and make that choice and, live that. So I kind of was wishy-washy because I just was unsure of everything.
That's so wild.
A learning experience,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you worked with some pretty incredible people.
Yeah. I was just thinking the other day, Roger.
Michael Zaslow.
Michael Zaslow. He was intimidating. I remember that. And yeah, I mean, everybody was really cool. I mean, Frank Grillo and I became really good friends. He was like my best friend there because I would go hang out with him. I'd walk across Central. He lived on the west side. I was on the east side. Yeah. Oh my God. Look at that. And I would walk across the park and hang out with him and his wife at the time. And like, he was kind of like my security blanket back then.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he was cool.
Yeah, but I mean, Michael, Mary Stewart, I think.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Maeve Kincaid.
Yeah. All the big hitters.
Clark.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you name it. I think they were all there at the time pretty much. So, yeah. Kim and
what do you wish somebody might have warned you about knowing that, it was such a big job, getting,
right. My first acting coach, this guy, Vince Chase, who, Entourage, the guy's named after him. He was one of the last remaining acting coaches that worked at the Paramount Studios and all this, trained some of the biggest names out you can think of. But he always said, don't do soap opera. They're going to come for you for soap operas. Don't do it. He's like, don't do it for many reasons. And I was thinking about this last night because I was thinking about this. And he was right to a point. I mean, I was 23 and trying to make a living and earn a buck, and it comes to you so quick. You're like, yeah, you take it. But yeah, I don't know what I would have hit that on the show, what I would have said. I mean, like I said, if someone could have just said, make a choice and just stick to it, maybe that would have helped me just get through it all.
Yeah, I mean, not knowing it moves so fast, you really do have to make that choice because there's no going back, right?
Right, exactly. So, I just don't think it was a good experience for me in a lot of ways. I managed to not completely eat shit on it, but I could have, could have been a better experience if I was a little more ready for it at the time.
Well, sometimes getting thrown in is a good thing, I guess.
Well, it's true. I mean, like we were saying, daytime drama in general, when it moves so quickly, any time I went to audition for anything else, it was like, you got it. I mean, they know I could hit the mark and deliver my lines like that. So it was helpful after the fact in a lot of ways. But I mean, I kind of segued into more daytime roles for a long time.
Right. And Cody Dixon was the next role at Young and the Restless.
Yeah, I did do a little 2-week stint on One Life to Live or As the World Turns or something, like literally for 2 weeks. I forget which one it was in between then. And then Cody.
While you were still in New York?
I think I went back actually for 2 weeks. I don't, I don't remember exactly. It just didn't turn into anything. But yeah, I remember the Young and the Restless thing was awesome. It was like, that's another great story, to be honest. Okay, Young and the Restless. Before I got that,
I think it was As the World Turns. It was a character named Liam.
Yeah, I think so. Right.
You went out to Brooklyn, probably.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, exactly. before I got the recurring role on Young and the Restless, I had met with Bill Bell because I had auditioned for something else, and he's like, he's like, we don't like you for this part, but he brought me to those. He's like, I love what you have to offer. The head writer was in there, Sony, the casting was in there, and he's like, I'm gonna hire you for a part. We're gonna put it together. It's gonna be 3 years, front burner storyline, blah blah blah. Filled me up with all this amazing. And I walked out the door, and I never heard from the guy again, ever. Even I would go to
So that's before Cody.
That's before Cody, and this is like a year before Cody, and Marnie was in there. She was casting Young and the Restless at the time, and I said, Marnie, am I crazy? She's like, no. He said that. And he was to the age where I think he forgot that he had said all this to me and offered me this stuff.
Awful.
But I went out shopping for a car. I was like, holy crap, this is going to be amazing. And it just never happened. I was like, holy shit, what just happened? So it was like an amazing story. Cut to a year later. Yeah, I go in, and it ended up being, the recurring thing ended up being one of the best things that ever happened to me, because I was used a lot. I worked almost as much as a regular role, but I could then go do Angel for 6 episodes because I only signed contracts per week. So it was actually a really great thing.
Wow. I love that. Was Bill there when you came back? Was he?
I don't remember. I don't know if he was there physically, but I'm sure he was still around. I don't know if he still realized if I was the guy that, it could have happened to many people. I don't know, but I know what happened to me. So, but I remember the day I got that recurring role, man. I was like, I needed something. And I paid my dues after the fact, right? I started working right away as an actor. And then I left Guiding Light. And then I was like, holy shit, this is now you got to figure it out, right? Now I got to go wait tables or do something. And I was I remember it was September 9th or whatever. It was I remember it vividly, them calling me and say, you got the part, the recurring thing. And I knew I was gonna have a lot of story with Sharon Case and so. And I cried. I remember it was it was like a lifesaver at the time. And it just beget so many more things for me. It was really great. Yeah, it was cool.
Talk about working with Sharon.
Great. Everybody in that show, I find most people in daytime are really cool because they get it. We're all lucky to be doing what we do. And you don't get so much fame that you can tell everybody to F off, right? Because you still, if you leave, you're not retiring unless you've been there for 25 years. You still got to schlep and get the next job. So I think it keeps people pretty grounded. And I made some great friendships with Josh Morrow and Sharon was great. And yeah, it was cool, man. It was really great. And, I met a lot of people through doing that show for so long that when I went to screen test for Days of Our Lives, Missy Reeves and I, by that time, are really good friends because I knew Scott really well. And, it was going to screen test together was great. It was like a reunion, just get together, So yeah,
that makes it a little more relaxing, I'd say.
Yeah, it definitely helped with my screen test, to know we knew each other and chatted beforehand. And, you have all that pressure of trying to get this job. I was on, so Young and the Restless, I was on that show when I went to screen test for Days. But because I was recurring, I could do whatever I wanted. Yeah. And it was a hard decision because I could, I've been doing Young and the Restless for 3.5 or whatever, it's 4 years. And, makes enough money and lets me do other stuff. And it was really great. Or do I say, this role in Days of Our Lives has potential to be something really good. And it's for sure. And it's better to this and better that. And, I went to the writer at the time on Young and the Restless and said, this is happening. I said, if you guys want to I don't know. I gave them a chance, first refusal, essentially. Yeah. And they're like, well, we're not sure, but we still want you here, but I can't guarantee you anything. And they tried to give me a juicier role for a second, and they put me with an actress who just didn't want it to happen. So she really sandbagged me. I won't get into it, but so then I left. That's the only acting job I've ever quit. Right? How often do you get to quit an acting job? But
yeah, correct. How often?
Never. Yeah. So I quit Young and the Restless to go to Days of Our Lives.
I'm not asking for names, but do you know if that person is still there? Or
I think she jumped. I feel like she went to Bold and the Beautiful or something at some point. Yeah, she didn't have the anyway. Yeah, so
yeah, no, it's just, maybe what goes around comes around.
Yeah, you never know. I'll ask you later.
What do you remember your story? What type of storyline you had at Y&R?
Yeah, honestly, it was a little bit of everything. I worked as the bar manager at Crimson Lights, the coffee shop. Yeah. So it was great because I'm so tall, I can spread my legs out behind the bar and get down. It's not be a giant. And I have a whole story about why being too tall is not good in this business. But yeah, I mean, so like I manage the bar. Sometimes I would do like we had this whole drug storyline, and I had to give like basically a PSA about don't do drugs, kids. Like, they would just throw this random stuff at me. Sometimes it was like, hey, come back in again, and that was it for the day. And sometimes I had like 2 pages of stuff. It just depended. I had stuff for Sharon, everybody came through the coffee house. So I got to work with like all the actors. It was great.
I love that.
So I was just kind of like that guy. Just whatever.
And you really did work at a coffee shop in real life at one point.
Yeah, that experience was amazing.
Yeah. Talk about what you just said about being tall.
Well, so, it's again, so I've been thinking about all these things because I knew we were going to talk. And I was, soap operas are one of the mediums where being tall, it works out usually because for some reason. But I just know I had all these opportunities where, like, for Aaron Spelling, for instance, he hired me for a couple shows later in life. But in the beginning, like, I would go into his office for like 90210. I would go in from Melrose Place to 90210 every other week. And yet that was back when you walked into his office and there was like 20 people on a couch and he was in the middle and you sat right in front of him with the casting director next to him and they did your audition. Like crazy.
So let's back up for a minute. Did you, because I know today you don't watch a lot of TV. Right. Did you realize who that was?
Yeah, then I watched the show. Yeah, we had a group of friends who would get together and watch the shows whatever it was on. And
so definitely you knew how big.
Yeah, and I was much more in the game at that time. Like I was on top of everything and I was auditioning for it all because I was at that age. And so yeah, you walk in.
Really, I've known who you are, but you are a perfect,
I was 902 all the way. Yeah.
Aaron Spelling actor.
That's what I'm getting to. So I go in there, I sit down, and like by this time I've got it together. I'm good at auditioning, and I finish. He keeps staring at me. He's like, "All right, yeah." And then I'm like feeling all good about myself. I walk as soon as I get to the door frame. He's like, "How tall are you again?" So I have to tell him I'm like lying, saying I'm 6'3", 6'2.5", 6'3", which is like a whole inch, probably less than what I am. And then I leave and I'm like kicking myself going, great. So this is invariably, like, he kept calling, they kept saying, you're too tall for the show. Ian Ziering was the tallest one. He's like 5'10" or something, 5'11" maybe. So you kept me, if I'm not the star of the show and I'm coming in like the guests are like, oh, Frankenstein at 6'4" next to, the main cast, they don't want that. So at some point I told my agent, I said, look, I love this man and I want him to hire me so badly, but you're killing me inside every time I go in there. And I know he's like, you're awesome. I love you. And we want you on the show. And then it just doesn't happen. Cause I'm like, put me in a wheelchair. I could be like the guy that, that sounds bad, but you know what I'm saying? They could they put me behind a desk, but, so that happened a few times. And, I was up for like Starship Troopers and some big movies at the time and got real close, but it came down to,
it's probably, because they're going to pair you up with, one of the ladies and they're nowhere near 6'2" or 3.
No, I know. And, you get away with some of the girls sometimes, but it's just when all the other guys are 6 feet or under and I'm
right. That too, they don't want,
Right. And unless I'm the leading man, but at that time, even they're like, you have to be third, fourth, fifth banana. And it just doesn't work unless I'm playing that character, like I'm the giant. But, so it was pretty interesting. He hired me later, when they had other shows coming out for Titans and stuff. And I think they realized to hire some taller people to give them a little more leeway as far as who they can bring on the show. But that was my big story. Yeah.
It's got to be pretty cool, though, to be in a room with Aaron Spelling, I think.
Yeah, it was awesome. I wish I could name all the people. There was all his right-hand men and ladies, and they were doing all those shows at the time. I'm not kidding. You walk in, there was a big office with a couch that went around the corner, and there must have been 20 people. And it's like screen test. You just go in and you're like, it was really daunting.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was
I'd have pit stains.
Oh my God. Yeah. I don't know. You learn to audition when you're doing that pretty good. I got really great at auditioning. Yeah.
Oh, when you keep coming back.
Yeah. It just becomes part of the game, right? You're walking onto the Paramount Studios or Dispelling his building and you're like, okay, the holy shit, I'm here thing goes away after a while when you're just like, I want to get this job. And it's like the third time and let's go. But yeah, it's always nerve wracking.
That's wild. So while you were doing Cody, the role on Angel came about?
Yeah. So like I said, I signed contracts every week that I went into work. So I went in to audition for Angel and I got it. And they're like, it's like 3 episodes to start. And then who knows after that? And I said, great. And, I told them at Young and the Restless that I said, I do want to come back, but And they're like, cool, do your thing. So they were really great. And I went and did it.
What kind of audition do you do for, like, did you know you were, when you were auditioning, did you know that the character of Landok would be in full makeup?
I don't remember what I remember. I feel like I did. I didn't know the extent of what the makeup would be, but the audition was very like short and very like, I kept thinking of the guy Dorn from Star Trek, like that kind of voice and that kind of like, what I'm talking about. He's like the big Klingon guy. So I remember auditioning. It was in this really weird building I'd never been to. It was like no power almost. It felt like there's two other guys there. And I just had this whole spiel with I didn't have a sword, but what I would do. And I don't know, man, it worked. And, it was good to be tall. That was a good one to be tall.
Yeah,
because that's what they wanted, right? I mean, I've had a few things come my way because I'm tall. Like I did a commercial with Brooke Shields because they need someone that could like be as tall as Brooke Shields. But so I remember the audition was very strange because that's one of those parts. It's hard. It's like when they ask you to fight in an audition by yourself. It's just so weird. So and I got it. And
so wait, cool. In some auditions they ask you to fight by yourself?
Well, that's like a fight scene. You're tussling with somebody. And you still have to do the audition. I'm always like, am I supposed to like? I mean, I've done it for 27, 28 years. I'm still like, do I pretend like I'm fighting? Like, what am I supposed to do here? Like, But the angel thing was cool, and I'll tell you a little story. Like, so yeah, it was a full makeup thing, and you get.
How long did that take?
Like it took 3 hours to get me because they did do my arms, the full mask, and the spray painting it every time, and the eye contacts, and the hair, and you name it. It took forever.
Wow.
And then on top of it, the glue they used to stick it on really, really was terrible for my face. Like it was awful. And then it takes an hour and a half to get it off, and you're in it for 16 hours. So I mean, I was like 20-hour days, and I was over it.
You were over it?
By the end of my last episode, I'm like, I can't. And they were talking about bringing me back for more episodes, and I told my agent, I said, in hindsight, I wouldn't have said this, but at the time, I said, I got to like double it. I can't. It's incredible. I can't handle it. And they try to give you a day off in between or 2 days off. I remember I went to do an episode of Young and the Restless during that time, and I showed up all like red and puffy, and people were like, did you have to like work done on your face? I'm like, no, man. I'm literally just reacting to the glue and the shit that's been on my face for like 4 days in a row. It was pretty crazy. But after the fact, I didn't realize there's a whole life after Angel and Star Trek, like conventions and fans. And I would have stuck it as long as possible because it's amazing the lifespan you have after from being on a show like that.
Oh, I would think so.
I just had no idea at the time.
And what was David Boreanaz like?
We didn't have much interaction. He was fine to me.
Okay.
He was great. We barely worked together. I came in 3 hours before him and left 2 hours after him, and it was fine. But I did get close to a lot of those cast members and the makeup and hair because we spent a lot of time together.
Oh my God, that makeup and hair! You must have, best friends.
Yeah, luckily we all got along really well. And the guy who played the host, Andy, who's no longer with us,
he was phenomenal.
Amazing, just talented and unique individual. But yeah.
So So is that who Landok was part of that with Andy?
Yeah. So we had the same like horns and essentially the same, but I was like the warrior section of that clan. But yeah, so we were from the same world. That's how they introduced my character. Like this portal opens up and I come flying through, and then I take him back, and you meet his family and all that stuff. Yeah.
Wow. I remember. Yeah. God.
It was like the end of the first or second season. It was during the.
And what was it like when you were first invited to the conventions?
It was amazing because it was in London, England, and they bring you over and put you up, and there was a bunch of other cast people from the show, and it was great. Andy was there, and Mark Lutz, who played the Gruselog for a bit, and the hair and makeup. We all hung. It was great. I mean, what can I tell you?
I got to go back to that show. I mean, I really It's been years, and I love that show. Yeah,
well, I will say I had to wear a special badge because no one knew who I was without the makeup, right? They're like, you shouldn't be back here. I said, no, I was at Landok. So
what
years later,
when they read that, is it like, oh?
Yeah. I mean, I love getting that role because it had nothing to do with my look, right? It just had to do with like some acting thing. So I was really, there you go. I was really proud to get that role.
I mean,
but
that's incredible.
Yeah. So years later, like, Dane Johnson, one of the head makeup guys on the show, we had one leftover mask, and I went and rented all this stuff again, and we took it to England, and we did a whole like makeup tutorial and did the whole thing on stage for 2,000 fans. It was pretty fun.
Oh, as part of a convention.
Yeah, we took it back one year for a convention because we used to do like once or twice a year.
What a really smart idea to let fans. I mean, because the fans of all of those sci-fi shows, but my God, Angel and Buffy had a enormous following.
So it's able to take pictures like as myself and then as Landok. It was pretty cool.
Do you hear from fans like today? Like, do people reach?
I have a lot of like. Well, I have a lot of like, I'm one that includes everybody, like say on my Instagram. I know a lot of those people from conventions, and it's not like we talk, but I think, once in a while they'll give me a like, or if I see their thing. I haven't been to, they curtail after a while. Then it became not just an Angel thing, but more like a vampire ball thing where they included other shows. And, at some point it's outlived its lifetime. It's 20 some odd years later, people are like moved on to the next thing. So, yeah. So,
but that's interesting. You say the vampire thing because Buffy really started the vampire thing.
Mm-hmm. That show would probably do well today if they just brought it, tweaked it a bit and brought it back.
I think it would be enormous.
Yeah, still a thing.
Yeah, it really is. You spoke about the screen test for Patrick so you screen tested with Missy Reeves,
right? Who I knew already. Did we talk about this before?
Yeah. That's why I was saying. Yeah, so you got to screen test with her.
Yeah.
What was it about Patrick that you liked?
I liked Patrick because he was going to be this kind of. I always said he was like a kind of a bad guy, but a James Bond with a heart of gold. Kind of like he did a lot of fun. The beginning was tough because Jim Riley was still writing the show, and he wrote some really bizarre things, and it was really hard to do. Like I remember flying a bombing jet, trying to dodge missiles, and then hoping I end up in the ocean and attacked by sharks. But I killed. It was like I killed the shark by cutting the other sharks. It was a feeding frenzy, and then we're on a desert island, and I'm giving Jennifer. I literally said this on TV, an episiotomy to get to give birth her baby for her in a cave, and so it's in this weird magical doubloon. I don't know how much you know of that part of the show.
I don't about days.
Okay. Yeah, and all the cast was on some weird island. It was a crazy little time when I started, and then it kind of became a little more rational of a show, and I enjoyed it more. Patrick had his own island and a casino, and it was like fun kind of stuff.
Yeah, Days of Our Lives definitely is not known for more rational stories.
Right. Yeah. I know. But I enjoyed it because I had a really great storyline with Missy Reeves, and then with Julie Pinson, who was playing Billy.
Oh yeah, I was going to ask you. Julie and I worked together on As the World Turns. She's great.
She's great. Yeah, we still keep in touch, through social media and stuff.
Yeah, she's living the life in Colorado.
I know, and Billy was on the show too back then with us, and then Billy Warlock, and then of course Christian and I had a great storyline, and I just saw her the other day, around. So, and
she just came back to the show.
Yeah, we were talking about that, how now it's on Peacock. And then I ran into, literally, most recently, Deidre Hall and Judy Evans and Julie.
Nice. I grew up watching Guy and Ally before working there. Mm-hmm. I grew up watching Judy. Judy was the best as Beth.
Yeah.
On that show.
Well, we joke because she was playing my mom on Days of Our Lives, and she's probably like 6 years older than me. And it's hilarious, But she's fun.
She's phenomenal.
Oh, she's great. She's a lovely, lovely human being, and she's great at what she does. And I kept thinking they brought her back as Bonnie as well. I was like, oh, maybe they'll call for Patrick Lockhart one of these days, but I haven't heard anything.
You never know.
Yeah, at this point it ain't happening.
But yeah, Peacock, it's doing really well supposedly.
Yeah, and then they got just picked up for 2 more years in Days of Our Lives, so that's great for everybody there. Yeah.
Did you watch daytime ever before?
Funny enough, we moved to Hawaii when I was like 10, and we were living in a hotel for 6 months, and my mom watched Days of Our Lives. So I literally tell the story of like when I was 10, watching Bo and Hope get married on Days of Our Lives, and cut to whatever 30 years later, whatever it is, 20 some odd, and I'm like making love with Hope on the show, right? It's like, it was really bizarre. I mean, by that time, she and I become friends. It wasn't weird to me, but it was like the idea that happened. Yeah, man, it was wild.
Was mom around when you got that
Yeah,
part?
she loved all that stuff. She's still around, and
She must have.
I mean,
Was
I don't
that
think she watched the shows anymore. I mean, when I was on the show, she started watching on The Restless, and then for years afterwards, she's like, "Well, what's going on with so and so?" I said, "Mom, hey, I don't know. I don't know. I'm sorry." But yeah, so she started watching the show again when I was on there, and yeah, she loved it.
Were your parents supportive all along with
Funny
acting as a
enough,
choice?
yeah, they were pretty supportive. Funny enough, well, they were pretty cool. I think the good and bad thing for me is that I worked right away. You know, but yeah, they were pretty supportive. I mean, I went to school for biology in Michigan State, and I went there in a lacrosse scholarship, and I had a whole different plan going in my life. And when I finally just came to California, just went to Cal State Northridge and was just in business because then I just wanted to graduate. And then I started acting class, literally like this guy Vince Chase, like if you come to this class, I want you here every day, and you don't have to pay full price because I believe in you. And so I ended up just going to acting school then every day, all day. And my parents, yeah, funny enough, I don't remember them giving me a lot of grief about it. And then I worked, got a couple jobs, and I think they were like, oh, okay, they're like, oh, you're in a magazine, cool. I think they love that kind of stuff.
So biology,
Yeah.
what were you thinking?
I don't know, man. I thought I might go to med school or something, and after like 2-3 years of that, and it got really, because I was good at biology, but then I got like real, like organic chemistry and stuff. And you're like, I don't know. And I was trying to play sports and try to go to college and be on my own and dick around and like have fun, and it just wasn't happening. So I wasn't willing to work as hard as I needed to make that happen. And then I was getting into acting, and I was like putting all my eggs, like I was willing to do the work. I'm doing a lot of air quotes. It's not normally me, but I started doing the work for that, and I enjoyed that work, and I wanted to keep doing it. So that's where I ended up going.
Crazy. Do you know what kind of doctor you might have become?
I don't know. I would think more like a general practitioner, because I'm not about like cutting people open and stuff. That would have been the hard part for me. I think at some point you get over that if you're in it long enough. But yeah, I think I would have been more like a general kind of guy, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a big difference. Big difference.
I told my mom, I said, look, Mom, I'll just play a doctor on TV someday. Don't worry about it.
You may still, it could
easily, you never know. I mean, there's still, like I said, I still audition. I have a couple commercials running, and sometimes, a little movie will come through, like a Lifetime type of thing on an offer. And if I can do it, I try, but it's just, the business has changed a lot, and thankfully I have another successful career, so that in the days when I would have had to say, yes, you can pay me $200 a day for 7 days. I can't do that anymore. It's like, this business and SAG and the whole, it's I don't know how people make it work anymore. It's insane.
Yeah, I kind of agree from what I
I don't want to get into a whole thing about that, but it's pretty insane. Every commercial is non-union, which people may or may not realize. It's a big deal. So
every commercial,
I'd say 90% of them, honestly.
And
so that means you get paid X amount. You get paid whatever they want to pay you for the day. So let's just say they pay you $500 for the day, and then say, okay, and if you're in the spot, you get $2,000. So you made $2,500, but then that's it. And you give me 20% to your agent, taxes. And then in the old days, commercials obviously is a residual. So every time you played, you got a little bit of money. So then it made it worth the effort. There's none of that anymore. It doesn't go towards your insurance or anything. So it's a whole crazy thing. I don't know. And
I didn't realize no residuals in commercials anymore.
Well, if you get a union commercial, yes, meaning it's a part of SAG, and they have to give residuals, but those are far and few between. Exactly right.
Wow.
And then it's even the films, they have all these SAG modified low budget contracts so people can get their films made. But what that does is makes it so you don't have to pay anybody anything. You know what I mean? And I don't begrudge anyone. If you have $500,000 and you want to make a movie and you can only afford to pay an actor $100 a day and hair and makeup $150 a day, and I get it, but just I don't know how people make a living as an actor or hair and makeup when that's the way it is. So, but the big grand picture of that story was, yes, I can say no.
Yeah.
I mean, changed my life.
I was gonna say that's got to give you some real power.
It felt great because as an actor, you're kind of unless you have a really good side job or trust fund or something, it's you got to take what comes mostly. I mean, short of softcore pornography. But I mean,
Yeah, that's not something. Hey, Mom, I got this.
yeah, guess what?
I
but,
needed to pay rent.
yeah, you know what I mean? So,
How did real estate come into your world?
you know, when I was a kid, my mom was involved in it a little bit, but then my wife is in the mortgage business, and so I was just around it a lot. And then we were kind of looking and buying and selling our own real estate, and I started learning more about it, and people would ask me about it, and I thought I should just. And I was about to have a daughter or a baby at the time, and I said I need another thing to do with my life. And I'd been kind of looking. I'd worked in corporate land for a second, doing PR and corporate communications, and I was starting to just get kind of feeling my way outside of acting, other things to do. And then so real estate made sense, and I went and did it, and I hem and hawed about it for a while, and I got started. But then I went to Texas and did some like QVC style on live jewelry sales. I can talk about that too. And then I don't know, when I finally made a decision in my head to be serious about it and go do it, and make acting my second priority instead of my first priority, which was the hard part because I'd been an actor for 25 years at the time or whatever it was. And that's all I did. It was like the first thing I did. So then when I could finally make that my second thing I do, it really just changed a lot in a good way. And fortunate, luckily for me, knock on wood, I was able to, make real estate work. So
it must, I mean, kind of interesting that both careers are, I guess, dependent on other things.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the good news,
you have to sell the house to make the money.
Yeah, it's a schlep like anything else. But like I said earlier, it's like I feel like if you put that blood, sweat, and tears into real estate, you'll get something out of it. Whereas in acting, you could be, not that I am, but you could be the best actor out there and never work. I mean, really. Or you could do theater, but I mean, to be so but it is a thing. It's a whole thing onto itself. Real estate.
It must have been a weight off your shoulder to some degree.
It was. When I started making some money in real estate, it was great. And the thing is also, I don't have to work in an office. I can work from home, and I'm raising my daughter. So I was a stay-at-home dad, and my wife works from home. So we've had a really great thing. And
well, I was curious about that. Do you work in tandem since she does mortgages?
We have. Yeah, we have. If it works out, if someone needs a referral for like getting a loan, I would say, well, you could try.
I mean, that's like such a great, you get the best of both worlds.
And it's good because she's a good resource for me. Sometimes I don't. She knows some stuff. She sees contracts all day long, so I might have like a question. She could say no, yes, she knows something about it. But
that's like an intense field to me. Like
she's moved on to underwriting since then, but she's still in the business. So, but yeah, it was, the good news is when it's good, it's great, but real estate can go sideways. And if we're both in the same business again, it's like, okay. But luckily in Southern California, it's kind of a bubble. Even when things are bad, they're not bad.
Well, I was going to say, what tips would you give somebody, if somebody's watching right now, what top 3 tips if somebody's looking to buy a house?
Oh, that's fine. Well, make sure you can afford it. And I would say, don't be scared by the interest rates going up, because if you love a house, it's an adage people say. It's like you're marrying the house and you're dating the interest rate. So, I mean, interest rates are going to go back down. So I would say buy the house and suck it up for a year or two. And when your rates go back down to 4%, then you can refinance your house and it's all good. So that's the thing. It's unless in the 80s, interest rates were 18%. Do you know what I mean? For mortgages, it was crazy. Really? Yeah. Historically, like a 6 or 7% interest rate's it's pretty good. So we were just used to 2 and 3% in the last few years. It got so low. So,
but I always say I didn't know that. I have always toyed with real estate, but it's too much for me, I think.
That's a lot. And the stuff you learn to get your real estate license is nothing to do with being a real estate agent. It's crazy.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like, that doesn't even scratch the surface of like what you really need to know. And the scariest thing for me was it's a lot of, especially in California, it's 26 pages of contracts, and it's a lot of money. You're dealing with a lot of people's money, and if you screw something up, there's the big consequences. So for me, that was a scary part for me. You get something wrong and don't mark the right box, something bad could happen. So I was very meticulous and careful about how I do my work, which I think my clients appreciate too. So.
I was just going to say your clients benefit from that. But real estate in general kill a lot of trees. Too much paper. They need to digitize.
Yeah, luckily we can do a lot of it digitally now, which is
You
good.
do good.
Yeah. It's DocuSign. I'm sure you're familiar with it.
Yeah, of course. But
it's crazy. Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
really good.
I've owned this house for 8 years, and back then they should have been doing it digitally.
Yeah, I mean, there's some stuff you have to put in paper, I guess, but we try not to as much as we can because it's a lot of stuff.
It was a crazy amount. How much?
But would you say? I mean, I would say real estate is probably one of the best investments you can make if you can swing it, honestly. So
I have never owned a house, so yeah, and I know, not that he ever preached this to me, but my brother-in-law has owned kind of, I think, like you did. He's owned a lot of properties. You said you bought and sell, and I tell my nephews, like, whether your dad's telling you to or not, follow your dad, because he's retired, under 60, he was really smart. And I know a lot of actors who were smart, who with those contracts they got from soaps, bought things, which I think is such. I wish I had done more of that as a younger.
Yeah, it's hard to know at the time, right? Me too.
I traveled more than I.
Well, that's something to be said for that too, though.
Yeah.
I have some friends here that were on those, Saturday morning shows. What were they called? They were like Saved by the Bell type shows.
Yeah.
And but they back in the 80s, and they bought it. They made at the time they made a lot of money. They went and bought these houses for $200,000 that are now worth almost $2 million because they held on to them. So that's the brilliance of it.
I mean, it's really, and that's the thing. Like, I wish I had really, there's so many interesting lessons about that. Like, my God, if you taught young kids when they were in school, save your money, and a lot of us could have better lives. Retire earlier.
Yeah. Then you retire too young and you don't know what to do with yourself.
Travel. More travel. More travel.
Well, I like real estate too because I don't ever have to retire. To be honest, I can do it as long as I want. Because I can go F off for a month if I feel like it.
Absolutely. I think it was after Guiding Light and As the World Turns went off the air in the first recession in 2009 when I lost my job. I actually drove a real estate guy around in New York City. Who an elderly gentleman, and I would take him and his clients. And I think he's still doing it to this day. He's probably 70, 80,
Right. Yeah. I mean, if you keep up with the new contracts and everything that's going on, there's no reason you can't. You just have a wealth of experience at that point.
Yeah, it's wild. So what were you saying about the jewelry business?
Oh, so like in 2018, I had a friend who worked at something called Shop LC, which is it's like the semi-pro QVC. You know what I mean? Like I say QVC is a pro ball, and then this is like a farm team or whatever.
I love that.
Triple A. So basically it was online. I went to Austin. I got the job. I went to Austin, Texas, where they shot it, and did like a 3-month trial. And I had to learn all about. They sold mainly jewelry, gemstones, and things, which I have zero interest in. But I figured real estate in Austin's cheaper. The schools are great. I mean, I'm thinking we're thinking about moving our whole family if this works out. And it was terrible. Whew, it was, I met some good people, but I mean, it was like, everything about it was awful. I didn't mind selling like $10 pieces of jewelry to people. That was just fun. But then you're trying to sell like $500 pieces of not the best jewelry in the face of the planet.
Crap jewelry.
Yeah, it was it was a kind of a soul crushing thing. I didn't like doing it. And then they wanted me to work from midnight to 6 a.m. because it's all live TV. And I mean, just to get my hours in, I guess. But there was a lot of things that weren't good about it. It was some fun. I learned some really fun stuff. I mean, I almost worked after that. I almost got hired by QVC a couple times. I got to like the very end of it. And but that would have been to move to the middle of like Westchester, Pennsylvania or something.
Pennsylvania, yeah. There's an As the World Turns actress who has done quite well on QVC now.
Yeah. So, I mean, I kicked that around too, but then, it's all good. So
your family still all out in California?
My parents are in, like near Palm Desert, Palm Springs, basically. My sister, no, and I have a sister. She lives out in the middle of like the South Pacific, like this place called Palau, which is like a U.S. territory between the Philippines and Guam. It's like paradise, but it's in the middle of nowhere.
What does she do out there?
She has her own law firm. She went there to be the assistant attorney general to the nation of Palau 10 years ago. And after 2 years, that kind of went away and she just opened her own law firm there. I mean, but it's like 25,000 people. It's not a big place.
How did she end up there?
She just got all this job for assistant attorney general, and she had been an attorney. She hadn't been doing it recently, and was like, needed to change her life, and went out, got it, and went and did it.
Wow.
Yeah. It's kind of how our family works, I guess. We just go do it.
That's wild. I love that. But like,
so she's in town right now. Yeah.
That's like picking up and going.
Oh yeah. She just left her husband and was single and no kids and just took off. Good for her.
Oh, yeah.
So she's here visiting right now. And then my wife's family is all here except for one sister's in England, and that's about it.
That's awesome.
And I have some other family, but they're like in Portland and
yeah. So for you, California's home now.
Yeah, I mean, it would be hard for us to move because my parents are here, my mother-in-law's here, her sisters and brother. My wife has like 6 brothers and sisters. They're all here pretty much.
And I'm sure they like seeing their granddaughter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my granddaughter has a lot of aunties and uncles that we don't have to buy her any clothes, which is nice.
Talk about Vivienne. How did fatherhood change your life?
Vivienne, it's great, man. Sorry.
That's okay.
She's great. I mean, I can't say anything else.
Do you see her following in Dad's footsteps in any way?
She every once in a while say, I want to be an actor. She loved this band called Blackpink, it's like K-pop girl band, and her and little friends were singing all the songs, and she wants to do that. But thankfully at 8 years old, she's not sure. Yeah, she mentions it. I say, I'm not going to ever say she can't do it, but I encourage her not to. We do live here. I mean, she did a little commercial when she was a baby, but we don't do that anymore. Ends up being more work for me, to be honest. To figure out auditions and I'll do all that stuff that I don't have to do anymore. But yeah, she's great. I mean, she plays the piano. She's super talented. She's got, I mean, she said 8 years old, she's got everything, right? She's super well-rounded. She's good at everything. But, maybe we all were at 8. I don't know, because I don't know what's going to get back to me when she's 12, and I'll see what the difference is. But no, she's really cool. She's a good kid. And I'm lucky to have her.
At her age, she likes Dad still?
Yeah, thankfully she loves Dad still. And we were laughing and having fun last night when we were trying to go to bed. And I think, the times when I get kind of like, you get frustrated, you just want to do your own thing. But, I'm like I said, come back to me when she's 12. She'll probably don't want nothing to do with me. I don't know, I think that just happens. So I try to remember that, I was like 43 when I had her, basically, or when we had her. So I started late, which is good and bad, right? Like, I get it. I can see all enjoy these times, right? Because they'll be gone. And
they say don't blink.
I know. So I try to be cognizant of that and remember that. And when she has her little blips, to just kind of take a breath. And
we all had our blips. I'm sure our parents would say the same about us.
Yeah. So I wanted to have some good, nice talents so she can get a scholarship, because the school's expensive.
Yes, they are.
So
I don't envy parents for in the least.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you, if you could write a role for yourself, do you have a dream role?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I don't really actively think about it. I think of like genres of film I always want to do, like some really cool science fiction, like stuff I like to watch, right? Like really cool science fiction or a really cool Western or something like that. Just stuff I just tend to like to watch. But no, I don't.
What was your sci-fi growing up that you liked watching?
Man, I liked everything. Anything like, I guess what it is, the older I got, the less real stuff I want to watch. Like, I don't need to watch a movie about shit that's really happening out there. I want to watch escape. Like, I want to watch a movie to escape. So I love my daughter's animated films, and I love, whatever science fiction that comes my way.
There's a lot of too much real out there. We don't need it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not burying my head in the sand, but we see it every day. It's like enough, I watch a lot of soccer and whatever, man. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, Brody, it's a pleasure to meat you. Best of luck to you. I hope you get to continue to do both things.
Yeah, me too. Just all's well. We're healthy. We're happy. We're getting by.
Yeah.
And That's all I can do.
That truly is what matters most, isn't it?
Yeah, it does. And thank you for having me on. You know, it kind of came out of the blue. It's been fun.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Fans really enjoy catching up. So I appreciate it.
You got it, man. I will.
You have a great weekend.
You too. See you, bud.
All right. Bye-bye. Thanks, everybody, for joining today. Thank you to Brody Hutzler for stopping by. Join me next Thursday, March 30th, when the filmmakers and stars of the film Chrissy Judy join me live. And don't miss Haley Barr next Friday, March 31st from As the World Turns. Please visit thelockerroom.com today for a new blog post. If you haven't yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, you can do so down below. Turn on the notifications for reminders of all upcoming shows and click the like button if you like today's episode. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I hope you have a great weekend.